Have you ever wondered about internal family systems, IFS? Have you heard about this? And have you heard about how to link this with working with plant medicines and psychedelics? Well, they go together really, really well. And I've got an expert here today to talk about this and show us how this happens. I've got Heather Smith, who is a licensed professional counselor, joining me today. She's a certified IFS therapist and approved IFS consultant. Welcome to the show, Heather. So
Thank
glad
you,
to have
Eddie.
you here. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I'm Eddie, and I'm with a Mindful Emergence. And Margaret and I offer mindfulness, movement, and breathing practices for healing and spiritual transformation. We're in the waking up business. And one of the things that I love to do is to talk to people about healing and transformation. So we have Heather here. Heather Smith has is pushing the boundaries of therapeutic modalities. Her passion lies at the intersection of internal family systems and expanded states of consciousness for the intent of transformation. Her journey began in 2015 with IFS, progressing through levels 1 through 3. She's solidified her expertise, serving as a program assistant for numerous IFS trainings over the last several years. In 2019, Heather initiated a MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, sponsored expanded access site in Rockville, Maryland, for the study of MDMA assisted psychotherapy for PTSD, a research protocol approved by the FDA. You know, I'm wearing my MAPS hat today. I
I
got
saw
this
that.
20 bucks off the
Perfect.
website. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. There's so much more. You can go to her website and learn more. But she inaugurated the Moxie School in January of 2022, providing courses and consultations for therapists, coaches, and guides seeking to refine their skills. And I know about this because Margaret went down to Costa Rica with you and had an amazing experience down there, getting trained, continuing her training with you, and also having the beautiful experiences down there.
Yeah.
So, internal family systems. Let's please give us just a snapshot of what that is, IFS.
Sure. Absolutely. So IFS is internal family systems, and it's really a model of therapy that helps create both a map and the navigational skills that we can use when we apply it to psychedelic material that comes up. It's really a system at looking at all these different parts of who we are, that every single person has multiple parts, that's not actually a problem, but it's actually a benefit to recognize that we're multiple. And once we can begin looking at these parts and getting to know them, we can actually heal and transform parts that may have become burdened or stuck in difficult feelings or patterns or that type of thing. So
Mhm.
it's a really
Well,
cool way of
I'll,
working.
I'll tell you, I loved hearing about this. And of course, Margaret's done a little bit of work with me.
Mhm.
And you know, I have this angry part, and
Mhm.
I always wanted it to go away
Yeah.
because it got me in trouble. I was like, oh no, 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 go away. And she said,
Right.
"No, there's a different way to work with this, Eddie."
That's right. And that's actually, I love that you're naming that because that's exactly what IFS provides is a different approach to these different parts or aspects of ourselves that we typically might hate or want to get rid of. Sometimes people suggest medicating it or numbing it out or just never talk about it again or suppress it, right? So there's all these different ways that we've been taught to deal with these parts of ourselves,
Hmm.
but the way that IFS approaches these parts is from a space of what we call self. And
Hmm.
when we begin to learn this self energy, self leadership way of approaching these parts, we actually are able to get to know your angry part from a curious, open, compassionate way that actually acknowledges, oh, wait, time out. This part's here for a good reason.
Mm.
And what is it actually intending or trying to do for me? It's not actually bad, right? It might not feel good all the time, but when you can get down to those underlying motives that it actually does have a positive intention, it gets there's way more expansion in that, and we can actually do something with that anger now in a more productive way.
I love the compassionate approach.
Yeah.
You know, it's much better. So
Yeah.
talk about psychedelics. How do they fit in?
Yeah. Fabulous question. So both IFS and psychedelics elicit these expanded states of awareness, right? Both are tools that help to open us up to greater dimensions of our awareness. So that's the way that they're very similar. The other way that IFS works with psychedelics is that it gives us that approach. So psychedelics amplify lots of material, right? You go in with psilocybin or ketamine or cannabis or whatever the drug of choice is, or meditation or something like that, right? Breath work.
Breath work,
And
yeah.
you open up this expanded consciousness, in whatever material arises, it's like, okay, now what are we going to do with that? Right. And so that's where I see IFS coming in, is like, oh, IFS gives us the roadmap and the navigational tools to know, what is this material, right? Are these parts of me? Is it showing me cycles and patterns, right? Like, what is this stuff that's being revealed? And then what do we do with it, right? So it comes back to that compassionate approach of like,
Mhm.
do I try to, bat this thing away and get rid of it and hate it and, resist it and push against it? Or do I welcome it in and get curious and begin opening up to really understanding, like, what's this thing all about? Help me learn more, right? So
These
it allows,
medicines, these medicines really show us our parts, don't they?
they really do. In fact, back to MAPS, when I was at the MAPS conference last year in 2023, um, Michael Mithofer actually spoke to the fact that they weren't looking for this in the research, but it organically came up, and they went back and studied it through the videotapes, that in over 70% of the MDMA research trials, sessions, parts organically came up and were named by the study participants, which is really, really fascinating, because parts are just such a natural aspect of who we are, whether you're really looking for them or not. They're there.
So as you know, we prepare people for doing plant medicine, and then we do the integration process afterwards. When
Yeah,
you do preparation work, do you introduce IFS at that time before people take their journey?
absolutely.
And then I assume that it really supports the integration. Talk about integration, because that's so important.
Absolutely. Well, this is really interesting. I actually find that the better you prepare, the easier your integration is,
Oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah.
Because it's the practices that you're setting up in your preparation. So if you're beginning to do parts work before you do your journey, you're already beginning to learn the skills and the methods of, how do I identify my parts? How do I start getting into relationship with those parts? How do I work with them? How do I access self energy? So if you're doing all of that in prep, once you get to integration, you already know how to do the method,
Mhm.
right? That's setting up your set and setting type stuff, right? So then once you get an integration, that's more of a situation of taking what you got from your journey and saying, what parts of me came up through that experience, right? And now that I can identify the parts that were shown to me through that experience, now I can just keep doing the IFS process to unburden them, update the system, right? Begin to do that process that reharmonizes the internal system that we learn about with IFS.
When people are actually in the experience,
Yeah.
do you bring it up then, or are they too deep?
It depends. It really depends on the medicine and then where they're at in the trajectory of that medicine, right?
Mhm.
Um, Certain medicines take people super deep. Obviously, dose is going to affect that too. If you take 5 grams of psilocybin versus 1 gram, that would look really different. So there's a lot of different variables that would affect how much kind of IFS process you can do in an actual medicine journey. But the important piece is for the facilitator, that if they're really well versed in IFS and they really know how to hold what we call as self energy, the facilitator can hold that position of self energy throughout the entire process, so that no matter what comes up, if the facilitator is leading from that kind of place, they're going to they're going to serve the client in the best way possible. So you may not be doing active IFS, protocols or something like that, but you can be holding the energy that we learn and prescribe and practice when we're doing the IFS work.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
so amazing. And it's so great when people show up to work with us and we find out they already know about IFS. Margaret,
Yay.
Margaret gets so excited. It's like, yay, yay. Oh, this is going to be so much easier to support this
Exactly.
person in really unpacking the experience and having insights.
Yeah.
There's a whole new paradigm, isn't there? Talk about
It
that.
really is. It is a totally new paradigm. We're just culturally taught to avoid, numb, be reactive, right? Like we're just taught to be in our parts all the time, manage it, control it. That's all the way that parts operate. So this is a new paradigm in the sense that, wait, time out, there's a completely different way to perceive this or approach it, right? I
Mhm.
keep coming back to that same word, approach. So it's really a paradigm of shifting the old approach that we've always used and kind of taking a beat, right? And saying, wait, time out. Instead of trying to manage it this way or react to it like that, how can I start to look at it through a new set of eyes, right? And that's kind of that self energy perspective of
Mm.
what's another way of understanding this or checking into it.
Compassionately.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that.
Exactly. Yep.
We could talk about this for a long time, but I'm sure some of our listeners are really excited to find out how they could get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And do you have any upcoming events that you want to let people know about that they can take advantage of?
I'd love, yeah, love to share. So you can reach me at the Moxie School. So the website is www.moxieschool.com. And that's MOXIESCHOOL.com. And some upcoming events. I teach my Art of Transformation course. We're enrolling for that right now for the fall of 2024. And it's basically learning how to use IFS, either as a facilitator or if you're quite a psychonaut who's wanting to add this to your way of working, you're certainly welcome. But I teach the full model of how to use IFS when it comes to expanded states. Um, and then we'll be opening up interest list for the 2025 Immerse program, which is the retreat option that people can come really learn how to use IFS and the full integration and immersion of plant medicine work.
And they'll be outside the US?
Yes. So we've been looking at Costa Rica quite a bit, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's been phenomenal.
I know we got to wait for the legal system to catch up with what we really need. So,
Yeah.
but you know, I've been to Costa Rica. Not a bad place to hang out.
Not bad. I don't mind going there.
Not
I
bad. I noticed you weren't in a big hurry to get back here when the training was done.
wasn't.
You hung out there for a while.
Yeah.
Well, all the information for you listeners that Heather provided, the website and so on, I'm going to put that in the description. So if you missed it, just scroll down and you'll be able to get a hold of Heather. And I'm so excited about this new trend. I'm so appreciative of you joining us today. And I will tell our listeners, if you have questions on this video, put a question in the comment. And then what I will do is I will forward that to Heather, but make sure you put your contact information so she can get back to you. We're not going to send them directly. I'll send them to her and then she'll respond if that's appropriate. So thank you so much, Heather.
You.
Appreciate it very much. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Excellent. Take care.
You too.